Welcome to Yoga with Megs. Today's class is yoga for runners. We're going to work on opening up through the backs of the legs and just creating a little more space, a little more mobility and movement. So coming to a seat on the knees on your mat, we'll get started. Closing the eyes gently, roll the shoulders back and down, sitting nice and tall. We'll take a few nice deep inhales here, bringing awareness to the breath. Filling the lungs, filling the belly. And exhaling completely. The breath can be an excellent tool while out running, specifically if we're doing a marathon. We can learn to control the breath to help keep us calm. We can also use the breath to provide more energy to the body. Begin deepening the breath here. Hold the breath at the top and exhale completely. To feel the heat building through the body as we deepen the breath. On the next exhale, gently opening the eyes. And from our seated position here, allow the hips to come down on the mat just to the left side of the feet. Still sitting nice and tall, that left hip is sitting nice and firm on the mat. Taking that right hand, just start to walk the fingers away from the body, taking that upper body with it. Inhale, sweep the left hand up to the sky, opening through the left side body, left hip. And really stretching that whole left side. Breathing into the rib cage. And exhale, bringing the left hand down to the mat. Gently shifting the weight over to the right. Allow the hips to come down to the mat, keeping the feet just stacked beside you. Start to walk the left fingers away from the legs. Inhale, sweep that right arm up to the sky, opening the right side body. Breathing into the rib cage. Gazing just off to the right. Gently exhale, bringing the right hand down to the mat. We're going to come into our tabletop position. So from here, coming onto hands and knees, making sure those hips are stacked over the knees, shoulders are stacked over the wrists. We'll begin with a little bit of cat-cow movement to warm up the spine. This is really great for runners. Tend to have a lot of compact spine areas from landing hard on the feet. So we'll start with an inhale here, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the gaze. Exhale, push through the palms, push through the knees, opening up through the spine and the low back. Inhale for cow, dropping the belly. Exhale for cat. Pulling those shoulder blades apart, pull the belly button towards the spine. We'll do a few movements like this, following the breath, inhaling as we open, exhale as we close. Just being really mindful of the spine here, really feeling each of those vertebrae sort of unsticking, if you will. Just creating some space in the back area. Coming back to neutral, start to warm up the hips, dropping the hips down on the left side, circle them over the ankles, and coming up on the right. Coming forward all the way, and then back down the left side. Nice big circles, just taking your time here, moving nice and slow. Just feeling that movement, feeling those hips open up. And once at the top here, we'll switch directions, dropping the hips on the right, circling over the ankles and coming up on the left. Keeping the upper body nice and loose. Last one. Coming back to our table position, knees are stacked under the hips, hands under the shoulders. And we'll take that right foot and extend it to the bottom of the mat, coming onto the toes. So that right leg is nice and long. And then start to push the palms into the mat, driving the hips back toward that right heel. Keeping that spine nice and neutral, really stretching through the back of that right calf. Gently coming forward over the wrists, releasing that right leg, but keeping it straight. Toes are still on the mat. And we'll push back gently one more time. Bring the right knee down to the floor under the right hip and extend the left leg long, coming onto the toes. And start to push the palms into the mat, driving the hips toward the left heel. Really feeling that stretch down the back of that left leg. Gently coming forward over the wrist and pushing back one more time. Bring the left knee down under the hips. Walk the hands forward, still shoulder width apart. Index fingers facing the top of your mat. Tuck the toes under, and we'll push back to our first downward dog. Taking a moment here to pedal out the feet. Just loosening up the legs, driving those hips up and back. Pull the belly button towards the spine, and wrap the triceps towards the ears. On the next inhale, bring that right knee forward and take a big step, placing the right foot between the hands. We're going to come into our high lunge here, so finding that balance before we sweep the arms up. And on the next inhale, coming up to standing. Exhale, sink the hips down, keeping the right knee stacked over the ankle. And take a breath here, feel the heat building in the legs. Work on tucking that tailbone under here, engaging the glutes, pulling the core towards the spine. Keep the shoulder blades pulled away from the ears. On the next exhale, we're going to start to turn the upper body towards the right side as we bring the arms down parallel to the floor into our high lunge twist. Being mindful, keeping those hips square to the front of your mat. And we'll start to take that right hand down the back of that left leg, so finding a spot on the hamstring, maybe the calf, depending on your flexibility here. Open up the left side body and reach that left hand up and over. Driving the hips forward, releasing that left hip flexor. Inhale, bring the arms parallel to the floor, slowly twisting to the front, sweep the arms up. Pivot the left foot to face the long edge of your mat. Straighten the right, turning the right toes to face the long edge as well. Bring the hands to prayer. And on your next exhale, start to pour the chest forward, hinging at the hips. Feel free to keep a slight bend in the knees here if that's more comfortable for you. And we'll start to allow that chest to sink down towards the floor. Hands are under the shoulders. And just take a couple of little gentle bounces here, just using the hands to bounce that upper body, just giving us a bit more of a gentle release. driving the inner edge of the foot into the floor to protect the ankles. And on each exhale, just allowing that chest to come a little bit deeper into the pose. From here, straightening the spine, turning the toes to face the top corners of your mat, and using your hands for support, we'll shift the weight over onto that right foot, coming into our side lunge. So we're on the left heel, nice straight leg on the left side, and on the toes of the right foot. Right hand is just in front of that right foot for support. Inhale, sweep that left hand up to the sky, opening through the left side body, allowing the backs of the legs to open up. Bringing that left hand down, again using the hands for support. Here we'll shift the weight over to the left. Inhale, sweep the right hand up to the sky. Exhale, bring the hand down. From here, using the hands for support, once again, we're going to come to the top of our mat into our low lunge. So shifting the weight onto that right foot, bring the hands to the top of the mat on either side of the right foot and pivot the left toes. Coming into our low lunge, bringing that left hand down on the floor just under the left shoulder, reaching the right hand up to the sky in our twist, gazing off to the right or past the fingertips. Exhale, bring the right hand down, drop the left knee, untuck the toes. Allow a moment here to sink those hips down a little bit further, really stretching through the back of that right leg. Keeping the spine long, chest is open. And from here, we'll shift the weight back over the left knee, straightening that right leg in our half split. Keeping the spine long as we start to pull that chest down towards the floor. And on every exhale, allowing that upper body to float a little bit further down. This time as we come forward, bringing the hands under the shoulders, take that right foot to the outer edge of your mat. So that hands are both on the inside of that right foot. Shift the hips forward and start to allow that right knee to fall open to the side of the room in our lizard pose. So the knee is falling open, we're on the right edge of the foot here. And again, allowing those hips to sink down. Take a few breaths here, really opening up through that low body. Trying to allow the legs to relax as much as possible as we sink into these poses. Shifting the hips back, bringing that right foot back to the center of the mat onto the flat part of the foot, shifting back into our half split one more time. From here, I actually want you to externally rotate that right leg so that we're coming down on the right edge of the foot. And then gently sinking the hips back, bringing that chest forward as much as you're comfortable with here, but just helping to get into the deeper side body muscles. So really working on the IT band here and a little bit more into our glute med as well. Lifting the chest, flattening the foot, start to come forward in that low lunge. Hands are under the shoulders. Heel toe that foot all the way to the left side, dropping the right knee behind the right wrist in our pigeon pose. Staying here for a moment, walking the hands back towards the hips, as we allow those hips to sink towards the floor, keeping the chest open, gazing forward, really staying active in our pigeon pose here. Option here, if you have the flexibility, bringing that right hand to the floor in front and start to bring that left foot towards the back. Reaching back with the left hand, grabbing onto the outer edge of your foot and just gently pulling that foot towards the body, really releasing that left quad. Gazing forward, keeping those hips nice and square. Gently releasing the foot, coming down onto forearms, or if it's within your practice, maybe coming all the way down, placing the head on the hands or the mat, wherever it feels best for you. And really listening to the body. If anything doesn't feel good here, just gently coming out of the pose. Allowing yourself a moment to relax in this position if that's possible for you. Releasing those hips. Relaxing the upper body. Maybe taking a moment to notice if you're holding tension in the face. Just taking a nice deep inhale. On the exhale, allow all of that tension to release. Gently coming up onto the hands, placing them under the shoulders, tuck the left toes under, and push back to downward dog. Taking a moment to pedal out the feet here. I'm just going to switch sides on my mat so that you can still see what I'm doing. On the next inhale, we'll start to bring that left knee forward towards the nose, stepping the foot between the hands, finding that balance, finding a good solid foundation, and on the next inhale, sweep the arms up into our high lunge. Exhale, sinking the hips down, pull the shoulders away from the ears, finding nice stability in our high lunge. On the next exhale, start to twist that upper body to the left side, bringing the hands parallel to the floor in our high lunge twist. And we'll start to take that left hand to the back of the right leg, reaching that right hand up and over the body, opening through that right hip flexor. Inhale, bringing the hands parallel to the floor, turning that upper body to face forward and sweep the arms up. Turning that right foot to face the toes to the long edge of the mat, straightening the left leg and pivoting those toes to the front edge of your mat. Reaching the hands up, bring them to prayer, and on the next exhale, start to pour the chest forward, bringing the hands down under the shoulders. Coming into our wide angle fold, pushing the inner edges of the feet into the floor, and allowing that chest to melt down as much as possible here. Lengthening through the spine. Pivoting the toes to face the corners of the mat. Using the hands, we'll walk the body over, coming down on top of the left foot and up onto the right heel in our side lunge. From here, bringing that left hand just in front of the left foot, reach the right hands up and over the body, gazing up to the sky. Exhale, bringing that right hand down, using the hands for a little added support. We'll shift the weight over to the right, coming onto the left heel. Allow those hips to come down as much as possible, sweeping that left hand up and over the body. This time, as we come out of this pose, we're going to come onto the top of our mat on the left side. So using the hands to bend the left knee, pivot the right toes into our low lunge on the left side. Placing that right hand on the floor under the right shoulder, reach the left hand up to the sky, opening up in our twist, keeping the hips squared to the mat, gazing either at the left fingertips or straight ahead. Bringing the left hand down, drop the right knee, untuck the right toes. Take a moment here, let those hips sink further towards the mat. Shifting our weight over that right knee, coming up onto the left heel in our half split. Hands are under the shoulders, keeping that spine as long and neutral as possible. Allow that chest to come down towards the left leg. Bringing the hands forward under the shoulders, take that left foot off to the left side of the mat. Shifting the hips forward as we let that left knee fall open to the side of the room, coming onto the left edge of the foot. Dropping the hips as far as possible here in our lizard pose. Gazing between the hands, keeping those shoulders pulled away from the ears, and keeping that spine as long as possible. Taking a moment here to bring awareness back to the breath, sending that breath into any tightness that you're feeling, just helping create more space. Shifting the hips back, bring that left foot to the center of the mat. Shifting the weight back into our half split, and we'll do our external rotation here. So coming onto the left edge of the foot, straightening that leg as much as possible, and pour that chest down. Really stretching through that left IT band. Straightening the leg, coming all the way forward, heel toe that foot all the way across to the right, dropping the left knee behind the left wrist into pigeon pose. Again, keeping our active pigeon here, so walking the hands back towards the hips, sitting up nice and tall. Sink the hips down, keeping them squared on the mat. I'm just taking a moment here to allow the hips to open up. Again, option if it's within your practice to bring your hand in front, bringing that right foot towards the body, reaching back with the right hand, gazing forward, stretching through the right quad. Taking a couple of deep cleansing breaths here. Gently releasing the right leg, coming down to forearms, or if it's within your practice, bringing the forehead all the way down to the mat, resting that upper body, letting those hips release. Taking a moment to notice if you're holding tension in the face or maybe the shoulders. Taking that nice deep inhale here. And exhale, releasing any tightness, tension, stress that you might be holding on to. Inhale as we come up onto the hands, tuck the right toes under, push back to downward dog. Shifting the weight forward into high plank, lower in chaturanga, keeping those elbows tucked, and coming right down to the belly. Come up onto forearms, bringing the elbows under the knees here, under the shoulders, pardon me. We'll start to bring that right foot towards the body, reaching back with the right hand, and we're actually going to take the inner edge of the foot and try and get the top your hand on the top of your foot, really pushing that heel towards the floor. So we're staying very active here in the upper body, really pushing that foot down towards you. Gently release, bringing that right hand down to the floor, shoulder is stacked on top of the elbow. Start to bring that left foot up towards the body, reaching back with the left hand, placing that hand on top of the foot and driving it down towards the floor. Gently releasing the foot, bringing the hands under the shoulders. We'll push back into a wide-legged child's pose. So taking your knees out to the edges of your mat, sink the hips back, bringing the hands to the top of the mat, allow the forehead to drop. Taking a couple of calming breaths here. On the next inhale, walk the hands towards the body, coming up into seated. Taking the hips to the right side, and we'll swing the legs around. Keeping the legs straight out in front. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, start to pour that chest forward, reaching for shins, ankles, or feet. Keeping the spine long here, we want to focus more on stretching through the low back and the hamstrings. And when we start to drop that head, we start to feel it more in that upper spine. So really keeping the gaze towards the feet. Feeling the chest come down as one whole piece. Really working more on getting that belly towards the thighs. If you find this is too intense, feel free to take as much of a bend as you'd like in those legs. Coming all the way up to seated, we'll take the bottom of the feet together in our cobbler pose. Sitting tall, gazing forward, roll the shoulders back and down. And on the next exhale, start to pour that chest forward. You can take the hands to the feet if that feels good for you, just helping to pull that upper body towards the feet. Again, we want to keep the spine long here. We're focusing more on the legs than we are on the back. Inhale, coming up, and we're going to roll all the way down onto the back. So finding the center of your mat, rolling one vertebrae at a time, nice and slow and mindful. And once we're on the back, bring the knees in towards the chest, give them a squeeze. Taking the left hand to the outer edge of the right knee and allow those legs to fall to the left side. Taking the right arm out to the right and gazing past the fingertips. Focusing on keeping that shoulder glued to the mat. Breathing into the twist. Rolling onto the back, give the legs a squeeze, and we'll take the knees to the right, reaching the left hand out, gazing past the left shoulder. And rolling onto the back, one more squeeze. Take the feet to the floor, allowing the knees to fall open, bringing the bottom of the feet together. In our butterfly pose, tuck the shoulders under the back. And taking one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. And close the eyes here. Begin to allow the breath to become natural. Just allowing the body to slow down, reconnecting with the mind. If you're using this practice before a run, maybe taking this time to use some visualization techniques. Just imagining yourself having the best run for your day. Or really using specific images if it's available to you. Maybe you know exactly where you're going to run, what the weather is like, what the terrain is like, what your muscles feel like while you're moving. Studies show that we can actually create muscle memory just through visualization. So it's such an important and powerful tool. Taking the legs long to the bottom of the mat, bring the hands beside the hips, allow the feet to fall open into our Shavasana. Still taking this time to just allow that breath to slow. Maybe you're still using visualization. Maybe you're just trying to find a sense of relaxation on the mat. Whatever it might be that's most helpful for you, just using that now. Taking a few more breaths here. Begin wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, turning the head side to side. Very gently bringing awareness back to the body. We'll take the hands up overhead, reaching through the fingers, reaching through the toes, stretching that entire body one last time. And release, rolling onto the right side and coming up into seated. Crossing the legs, sitting nice and tall, bring the hands to prayer at heart center, bowing the head. Thank you for allowing me to guide your runner's yoga practice today. Namaste. Hope you have a wonderful day and please join me again.